call, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. PSR is excited to present to you Last Call, featuring your boy, the Pimp Slap POD, Mike M.
We are live, and you are here. Let's go, Billy Bridge. How you doing, Dutch? What up, brother? Bouncer, what's up, brother? LJ from the HLJ.
Mike, man, happy to be here, man.
T on the ones and twos, -7.5, the official number we'll use, and the lines move 2 points. And this is not a show to be late for.
And now, let's get to the picks.
We be pumping! Welcome to Last Call. Yeah, we're here, Sean Higgs. We're rocking and rolling, baby. Wouldn't miss it for the world. 6 p.m. Eastern. We always get this thing fired up and ready to rock and roll. Appreciate seeing you out there, my guy. Yeah, we're picking up the pieces from that Monday nighter, but we have moved on. We're ready to rock on this thing here, and rock we will. I love Thursdays. My favorite time to get into the weekend here. This is our way to stack that cash, moving forward here into a solid weekend, and it's a big holiday weekend for everybody. So happy holidays, everybody that's out there doing their thing. Friends, family, you guys got all kinds of parties, all kinds of happy hours, all kinds of things to get to, but you made it here tonight, and that's what counts most. And man, we have been stacking right now. We've got 2 solid days in a row, and I'm excited. You know, we went through a 9-3 spot yesterday, and really solid. I thought overall, you know, we got a 2-1 in the NHL. We got a 3-1 in college basketball and a 4-1 in the NBA. Our guy LJ came through rocking and representing as well. And we've been rolling, man. We are moving forward. I can't wait. It looks like I'm going to roll the production tonight as well. So we know how well that turned out to start for us yesterday. We'll see if we can't figure it out and make it work here. But I'm excited about tonight's card. It's a full slate tonight. Holy moly. We got an NFL game here. Should be a banger. We've got the New Orleans Saints. We've got, whoa. Stop the show. There's my guy, Sean Higgs. What a man, this guy here, Sean Higgs. Great dude to hang out with. I've had the pleasure of hanging out and getting to know him the last couple of months on stream. And here he is, blessing our action tonight. Sean Higgs, the $100 dono, says for the tissues in Vince Papale jersey. Hey, yeah, we're still crying a little bit about it, but you know, it is what it is. We're gonna make do. We're gonna make way, and you know, in honor of that monster dono, I usually save these for the Thursday night the live show, but since you're blessing the action, I'm gonna bless the chat here with a little sip of the brown water for our guy Sean Higgs. I appreciate you, my guy. Let's get this thing going. That should make for a great Thursday night live show here to get this thing rolling. And again, my favorite time of the week here. We get to start out here, talk about the big show tonight, and then we've got the big live stream as well. So going to be a lot of fun. Glad you guys are here to hang out with us. Everybody's getting out. We know the deal here. 6 p.m. Eastern, getting out of work, making the ride home, get us tuned in, get ready to rock and roll. You know, we ask you to do 3 things. 1, hit that thumbs up button on the YouTube channel for us there. Help promote the brand. Help let them know Last Call's here to do this thing, and we are not messing around. 2, grab a pen and paper. Lots of action going to be shared, not just here on panel. Excited to bring on our new guest tonight. And then 3, grab your chat. Make sure you put the comments in there, put your plays in there, and let's see if we can't help everybody collectively. One team, one dream, one vision. We're all looking to beat these bookies and get this Christmas money in our pockets, and I think we're going to do just that tonight. Excited about what we have coming up in the NHL. Bringing on a new guest for everybody tonight. He's going to make his debut to break down the NHL card for us. So we're changing the order up here. We're going to keep everybody on their toes. You know, I love to close the show with the guests there giving us their looks, and he is ready to cook them books. So it's going to be a lot of fun to get into that with our guy Isha from the City Life Project. If you haven't met him before, you haven't known him, this is a guy that likes to get into it. Does a terrific job breaking games down. Definitely a master of the craft. He focuses in on the MMA and the NHL. I had the privilege to work with him last Saturday on some MMA breakdowns, and we broke that card down and busted it up. So I'm looking forward to hearing what he's got to say tonight about the NHL. But again, I appreciate everybody dropping in. Of course, our guy Sean Higgs rocking with us here, rocking and rolling. Big dono right off the hop. Robert Dickinson says, let's get the cash. And there's Dabby Cab says, what up, homies? Dabby with a solid day yesterday. We're getting sharper, baby. We're getting sharper. We're heating up. And, we're just getting better and better at this stuff. Chris Mack says Mike Money. And there's Joseph Thompson. Gave us the 1-1 last night on the plays given out. He likes Stony Brook, Michigan State over 137 tonight. He likes Hofstra UNLV over 140.5 as well. So appreciate Joseph Thompson being here, ready to roll, sharing the plays in the chat. That's what happens. I get a shot at me. I start getting tongue twisted here. So we got a lot of work to do, and hopefully I can keep it together here. Jay Peasy, what up? Says, what up, mother? Yeah, I got you, Jay Peasy. I see it. Let's go here. Trisha M, there she is. Damn shot time, she says. And there's Con Clip says, hell yeah, brother. Except that money, I don't think goes to him. It goes to the channel. Hey, that's okay, man. It's all about building this thing, Con Clips, and I appreciate all the opportunities, all the donos, all the memberships you guys contribute to everybody to grow this monster that we're trying to do here with Pub Sports Radio. Deshaun G says, what the deal, pimp? The deal is we're stacking chips, baby. We got a bunch more to stack tonight. There's Mel. Mike, big pressure on the Avs here. Local media all over the Tays comments calling out teammates. Plus, McCarr was in regular power play 1 jersey this morning, and Sam Girard is back skating with the team. That's boots on the ground with Mel giving us the Colorado breakdown. They're excited about that game tonight. It's a full NHL card. I want to say there's 12 games on the NHL card. I want to say there's 8 in the NBA. And of course, there's got to be like 3,000 in college basketball. So we're going to get there. We've got a lot of work to do, lots to get moving here. Start hitting the like button, says Sean Higgs. Coin, let's have it Thursday. Mike in chat. There's Truth Teller rocking. And Nunya says, last call. Nunya, my guy, thanks for coming in. Jacqueline, there she is. Merry Christmas, everyone, says Jacqueline. And Merry Christmas to you, Jacqueline. JPZ says, Oilers are his only play so far in the NHL. I'm excited again to work with our guest coming on tonight because extraordinary when it comes to commentary and breakdowns. This guy is very sharp as it gets. He's from Canada, but he made his way to Minnesota, and he's on the right side now. But that's okay. He's a hockey guy as well, so I'm excited to get into that. There's Michael Johnson says, "What up, Pimp Slap? Let's get it, baby. Yeah, let's get it indeed. We've got again a monster card to go through tonight, but you guys know how we start this thing off. Transparency is the foundation of what we do. We do have to recap it. Good, bad, what have you. And it was good last night. So let's get into it. Let's talk about this really quick. We'll move quickly here. Again, we've got a lot of things to move forward with, and we'll talk about this hockey card. We got those Capitals. It was an overtime sweater, but we got the Caps. We picked up the W there. The under 6.5 in Detroit. Yikes, that did not get the job done for us. Fortunately, they made me sweat it out all game, so I had the misery that goes into that last-minute defeat of I think it was 5-2 final. And then the Kings, under 6.5. It's not just the games, right? It's the breakdowns that we share both in the chat and on screen here. And one of those games that we talked about, what's everybody going to do? Oh, just take the Kings in regulation. There's no way they lose this game. And what happens there? We even said it on the chat. It's going to be an under. It's probably going to be a spot that maybe goes to overtime. Wouldn't even surprise me to see Seattle win it outright. And Seattle, in fact, does win it outright. We keep moving here. St. John's minus 5.5. Easy casher there. The UMKC spot, the over, it didn't get there. They might as well have only scored 50 points because you could tell right off the gate that wasn't getting there. But not just about giving you guys fish. We want to teach you how to fish as well. The old ancient proverb there that talks about never letting somebody go hungry. Just because we're doing this Monday to Friday doesn't mean you can't take away the good intel and apply it in the future as you see these opportunities. We took Duke minus 2.5. But you'll recall we talked about that first half neutral site, Madison Square Garden, when the first half totals are between 70 and 80, it's going under at a 62% rate. We took that Duke first half under 63. Never a question. That thing cashed for us nicely. The Sixers minus 3.5 got the job done. The Denver Nuggets minus 3.5. Interesting spot there north of the border, but we were on them. They cashed for us. Although Gordon did not get his points. We had over 13.5 as well. He got 12. So we'll put him on the scumbag list, the naughty list here to start this the show off here and kind of keep an eye on that. But hey, you know what? They were up comfortably, so they didn't really need him to apply the pressure in the fourth quarter. And then we look at these last two games here. The Nets under 233.5. Man, I was not sure what the Knicks were going to do for us. They've been a team that's been screwing me on these unders. But they did play some defense yesterday. They got the job done. The under 233.5 cashed, I want to say, by 10 points for us there. And then last but not least, again, talked about this with our guy LJ, over 236. These player injuries, some of you guys have heard me say before, I don't care so much about the player injuries because it's already cooked into these lines. And sure enough, with the total at 236, that game sailed over the total. I want to say it was 35 points over that 236, despite the Tatum factor. Oh, and by the way, who knew the Celtics are actually 5-0 without Tatum out there straight up. So that line moves quite a bit, but again, it's baked into those numbers predominantly when you start this thing off. So there we go. We picked that one up there. Had a nice little day on the lean side as well. We finished off, I want to say it was a little 2-0 spot over there. We had Tyler Hero over 21.5 points. He got that easily done. And then Embiid under 12.5 rebounds there. Said if the Sixers are going to win this game, they need to have him go out there and score points, not rebound. I want to say he got to 12. So it was a sweat, but there he goes. That's how we do it. And that's going to bring us to today's show. So again, trying to just build off this momentum. We got to stack these bricks up one day at a time. We've got to keep it rolling. And that's what it comes down to here is continuing to roll, continuing to build, and continuing to get these bankrolls moving in the right direction here. We're coming into a new year, only a couple weeks away. It's hard to believe it's already December 21st, but time flies when you're having fun and when you're cashing tickets. So that's what we're trying to do tonight. Shout out Subhuman Gaucho, says Even Mike. It's Thursday. Let's get that Listerine going. That's for Monday mornings, my guy. That's a Monday morning treat out there, Subhuman Gaucho. And then JPZ says, I laid a big number with Purdue versus Jacksonville. Jacksonville's trash, especially on the road. They almost lost to Georgia Southern, the worst team in college basketball. And I want to say I took the team total over in that. I'm not entirely sure what I had on that play. I know there's nothing official here for the show, but there's Fernando Mendoza. Michael Johnson, I yo you big time. He says, thanks for your lean. I was going to cash it out too. That's what it's all about. We all work together to kind of cook these books, and let's do just that tonight. Again, full card to jump into. We're going to start out. We'll start out with the NFL. We start out with the NFL specifically because we've got the live stream, give an opportunity to kind of let some of this information sit. And then when we start back up at 7 o'clock, away we go. So got to move fast, got to keep this brisk pace. Right off the gate, you'll see here, I'm looking at teasing this thing to start this game off. I'm going to take this number through 0. I don't care. I know the guys that say don't take it through 0 are probably the guys that were working for the books. And then I had to look at the total, and I got the under 52 on that thing. So as far as the numbers are concerned, it opened up at the Rams +1, now down to -4. That's a look ahead line, but 79% of the bets and 77% of the cash on the LA Rams. And the numbers moved appropriately. The total is over 43.5, now up to 45.5, and some 46 is still hanging out there. 79% of the bets and 72% of the cash on the over, but we're starting to see some of that buyback. So are the books thinking that that ceiling is kind of leveled out with that 46? It does seem like they are. They're expecting this window to be between 43 and 46 points on the game tonight. I was looking into this thing, and I started kind of getting into the weeds a little bit here. I saw, first of all, we heard the Cooper Kupp stuff, right? Oh, woe is me. It's tough to have 2 home games in a row. This turf hurts my knees. Well, it's because you're out there playing aggressive. You're playing a physical sport, and that's going to happen. I never heard anybody complain about 2 home games, but here we go with Cooper Kupp kind of starting it out. And, when you look at a game in short week, this is what I had to kind of break it down to. It comes down to the coaches, right? These guys, can they prep their teams? Can they get them ready? We've seen a ton of these primetime games kind of start out high scoring, and then everybody kind of sits on their hands in that second half. And I don't even know if the word high scoring is the best number to use there, because we obviously cashed the first half under on Monday. But it seems like the game plan is orchestrated early, and then as the game starts to develop and move forward into that second half, they start to kind of get trickery because they know they're going into that extra day of bye rest out there. So when I looked at these coaches, I saw Dennis Allen, when he's on short rest, the New Orleans Saints head coach, he's 2-7 against the spread. Flip side, when Sean McVay's on short rest, he's 12-7 against the spread. So it's quite the opportunity there when you just kind of put down to the X's and O's as far as the coaches. A couple other coaching stats that led me to going on this LA Rams and the underside of things. Sean McVay, when he's a home favorite in December, he's 13-4 against the spread. And when you look at him as an under coach, he's 10-26 to unders when he's at home as well. So a couple of supporting numbers there. Again, I think this just goes to that narrative of we see some fireworks early. Does Kamara figure it out and start to make some moves in that second half? Not if they're getting beat up early, they're not. So it's going to be a tricky game to kind of thread the needle with on props. But non-divisional primetime favorites off a spread of 2+ games, off a spread win streak of 2+ games, are 0-15. So definitely a little slight against and saying, is that 4 points going to be the spot to capitalize on? That's what ultimately led me to the teaser and saying, it's a tight window to try to fit this thing into. I don't think it's going to be a 7-point game when it comes down to it. We just haven't seen that be the case time and again. Now, when you look at games going under, last week, the Giants and Saints game went under. It was a trend that was 11-0 for the Saints when they've allowed just 6 points to make it active again tonight. It's going to be an 11-0 trend for the under when they allowed less than 10 points the last game. So when their defense mans up, they shut them down, and that carries forward to the next game. Now, we'll see how that travel impacts these boys as they move from the East Coast to the West Coast, because a big spot that I came across as well is when you look at these teams. Let me see if I can find it here. Now that I'm talking about it, I get all excited about it here. But when it was non-Pacific Coast teams, when a team's coming to the Pacific Coast that's not from the Pacific Coast, they are certainly in a losing proposition. I can't find the actual number now with all of my notes going on here, but the Rams are off of a 10 straight under spot in their night games. The Rams, they haven't scored more than 17 points in their last 6 of those primetime or those night games out there. So I think the lower scoring opportunity is the deal. And again, I talked to you guys about the difficulty with the props in this game. Kyron Williams, right? We know that this guy's been killing it. He's the number 1 most prop bet guy tonight as well. He's going to get a touchdown and everything else, but it's a short rest factor out there. When you've got a situation where running backs are entering Thursday night football, they're off a Sunday game where they had 24 or more carries. They average 15.5 carries the next game, but their yardage is down to 3.5 yards per carry. So interesting spot out there. If you do the math on that, I see a lot of folks looking at his rushing and receiving props over 100 out there. The numbers would suggest otherwise here. It's a situation where, despite the Saints struggling to defend the run, they're 24th in DVOA against the run. They gave up 142 yards on the ground against the Lions, but that was a Williams spot out there where that running core for Detroit has gotten more mature as this season's gone on. So that'll be interesting to see how it all kind of breaks down here. Los Angeles is averaging 33 points a game with him in the backfield, so they are scoring 37 points, 36 points, 31 points, and 28 points. Interesting spot, though, because I think what's going to happen in this game is the Saints are going to have a tough time getting points, and I think touchdowns will be a premium. So maybe we see a 19, 20-point first half, and if we see 10 points in that second half, I feel like that'll be a lot. So we'll have to move forward. We'll have to tune in later on tonight into the next show there with the live betting to figure out exactly how we're going to get into that game. But got to keep it rolling. Got to keep this brisk pace. We've got our boy coming in here shortly. I don't want to keep him waiting. Let's talk about this next game. We're going to look at this Syracuse. And guys, I got to do the production here, so I don't have a chance to see all of the chat. So I'll try to make sure that I pivot over there. But forgive me in this instance here because it's a truly a one-man band tonight. So South Florida, Syracuse spot here with college football. And what a game this is going to be here. The Boca Raton Bowl here. Kind of a battle of 2 spots. So we talked about some of these college bowl games earlier this week specifically. We talked about the UTSA game. That number for Marshall was sitting around 11.5. When the quarterback officially decided he wasn't going to play, it dropped down to 8. Did that mean we chased the steam with Marshall? No, we went the other side of that thing and we said, that's too many points for a quarterback that doesn't do a lot anyways with the UTSA team. And what happens? UTSA comes back in overtime to win the game. That being said, when you look at what's going on with the situation in Syracuse right now, obviously Dino Babers, head coach, out of there, big deal. Now, the exciting news, they bring in Georgia's defensive coach. They run a strong defensive program, but the nice news there that came out this week here is Ohio State, Kyle McCord, going to transfer to Syracuse next season, not this season, next season. So that means, as we go through this bowl game, they're left with what they have. And what do they have? Garrett Schrader out of this game. Certainly got that, was it the shoulder? I can't remember if it's a shoulder or a back injury for this guy. He's not playing regardless of the case. Also, their backup quarterback into the transfer portal. So now what do you have out there? You got a third stringer, a freshman coming out there, and Carlos Del Rio Wilson's the guy that's also going to miss the game. It's Braden Davis, a redshirt freshman to start for Syracuse. 57 snaps for this guy on the season. I don't know if that's a recipe for a win here. I think these points have dropped quite a bit. I forgot to kind of start where we kicked off here. -4.5 for Syracuse. 72% of the bets, 75% of the cash on the Cuse, and it's moved from -4.5 to -3.5. Everybody's pounding in on Syracuse, expecting these guys to be a short favorite and come up with the win. But I think in this case, with your coach being out of there, with your quarterback situation in turmoil right now, on the other side of things, you've got a team in the South Florida Bulls. They rank 14th nationally in rushing explosiveness, yards over 10 spots out there, and they're led now by Byron Brown, Last I saw, Byron Brown should be the guy that's going in there. Comes in as that backup quarterback. And then what he did is he did nothing but kick ass and take names. Out there, setting passing yards in the season school records with over 3,100 thrown yards, 23 touchdowns, and he's averaging 7.7 per attempt. It's not just the fact that he's he can go out there and throw through the air, potentially shred apart a Syracuse defense. We know the Syracuse defense is incredibly strong, but it's the dual threat capability that this guy's got out there. He's running all over the place as well. So you've got a spot where, that keeps the chains moving. That keeps the clock moving. I would not be mad at anybody that wanted to get out there and take a look at this under. The under opened at 57.5, has dropped to 55.5, 45% of the bets and 55% of the cash on the under. And we know that the defensive secondary for Syracuse has had a good season, which means I think Brown's going to have to go out there and use his legs a little bit more. They do have the 19th best secondary in Pro Football Focus, the Syracuse Orange do have. But again, not doing such a great job against the run. It's like they can come out there and get the big pass breakdowns when they need to, but it seems like when the chains get moving, they get struggling. And I think that's going to play its part tonight. So in this case here, although I see the numbers dropping, it's not a concern for me at this point because we're only 1 point off the open. You lost all your quarterbacks, you lost your coach, and you're kind of in flux against a team in USF. Probably the big win for me for USF. They're 6-6 program. It wasn't until the quarterback change came in, that they really were able to move forward and push. But the big game that stood out for me for South Florida was when they shut down Alabama after that Texas game. That was a screaming under spot. And, kind of a surprise. I think I was on that under for sure, but it was one of those situations where you looked at it and said, well, this defense can show up in big spots. And I don't think this is the Boca Raton Bowl is not necessarily that big spot that they're looking for, but it is a primetime situation. It's going to be a nationally televised game. And I think from the position of the South Florida program, they don't have a lot of guys going through opt-outs and transfer. In fact, they're pretty healthy all around. I think everybody's coming back. I didn't see any big names jump out as guys that weren't going to play in this game here. And I think it's going to be a tough spot for Syracuse. I kind of think that South Florida gets this game done outright, but I could almost see like a 42-17 type of game. Kind of scares me though a little bit for this under. We've seen all bowl season long, every one of these games has dropped to the under, yet they're still finding a way to get over. And I think that just kind of speaks to some of these mismatches when you have these teams that don't see each other very often. That's kind of what we get with bowl status here. Transfer portal situation takes key guys out of key positions and opens up kind of some of those mismatches that we see. So I fully expect to see USF cover this 3.5. The question is, can they get the full game out there? And now FanDuel is the one hanging at 3.5, but we're starting to see threes as well. So depending on the situation and how you flow, you're going to want to take a look and make sure that you get the best number out there and that you line shop. So let's go. Let's keep it rolling here. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Sharon Polian, Chosen One says, what up, Mike and chat? Let's get this money. Real Deal Prime. You're going to be mad at me again, Real Deal Prime, but I'm glad to see you. Glad to see you after that last blowout there. I know you used the words blowout, and I said I could see a blowout too, but who knew it was going to go that way? Well, let's go. Let's keep it rolling. It's good to see you though. Guillermo Zartucci says, what up, gang? Coin C3 everywhere now in USF. Yeah, I still see the 3.5. It's a little juicier now. It's minus 122 with USF on FanDuel. Wouldn't be mad if you wanted to take the 3 though. Again, I think it's a spot to get the job done. I see Jay Peasy says he's leaning on the Saints +4. And Keith says, what up, Mike, and everybody likes Cup and Karan Williams touchdown parlay spot. There's a nice little looker for +260. I can't get mad at that. That sounds like a good spot to get involved with there. Put some of these spots together and make it happen. Ramon Scott says Purdue by 40. Appreciate our guy Ramon Scott dropping in here as well. And again, guys, I'm at the mercy of producing solo here, so I'm going to do my best to keep coming back and acknowledge the chat there, but we gotta keep this thing rolling and get this thing moving. So Unlucky Charm says -3 for USF at +178. Yeah, I like taking the shot, man. I think that's a good look there. When you think about these numbers and how this thing's moving, for +178, you can still find +128s out there for the money line on USF. So risk reward, you got to figure out and ask yourself if that's where you want to be. And I'm not mad at that. I think it's a good spot for. And then Coin says Stations has USF +3.5. It's still out there. You have to line shop. So again, make sure you guys take the look for the best number, depending on the side you want to play. It's like a broken record when we say that, but it's so important because it's the difference between the hook or not. It's the difference between an extra 10 cents on the line that you can pick up or not. So things that we have to be kind of aware of as we move forward, but let's keep moving forward here. I I got to pick up the pace already. I can't imagine I got to already pick up the pace here, but let's pick this pace up indeed. We'll flip gears. We'll talk about college basketball. We've been moving pretty well with college basketball. This first game I want to talk to you guys about, though, this had 3 teams that fit the model today. I'll tell you guys, we'll read the spreads and the lines, and then we'll get into it. So the first game that fit the line was the Air Force over. That cashed. The other one was Jacksonville State, and that cashed. So there were 3 games that appeared today in the lineup, and this is the third one. This is going to be the Oregon State spot here. Let me just pull this number up. Idaho State, Oregon State. The line opened at 6.5. Now it's still sitting around 6.5. They're starting to see some 7.5s, though. Everybody's betting on Idaho State. 46% of the bets, but 75% of the cash thinks Idaho State gets the job done. I'm looking at the total in this game. Again, it's a spot that I just mentioned. It's already cashed 2 in the model for today. This is the third spot out there. And here's what we want to see. 50% of the bets, 80% of the cash on the under. Line hasn't moved. In fact, it's only moving up. 130.5s and now 131s that are out there. So a good spot, I think, to take advantage here. I mentioned these 3 conferences before, the Southland, the Mountain West, and the Pac-12. When you got a home favorite in those conferences, it's 87-46 to the over. Also, when you have a spot where the total's less than 141 in the same criteria, that number moves to 34-17 as well. So a couple good supporting causes out there for why I think this Oregon State Beavers team gets the job done. Guys know I love these model spots, and when they fit the mold, I want to take advantage. We're also in a spot where you look at this kind of buy low. Oregon State takes Cal Poly down. They're on an over with a 131.5. They go out there against Utah Valley. It's a 130. They get the over. Then they bloat this thing up because they're playing UTSA. It's a 148.5, and now they go under in that game. So they've moved this thing now, 10 points, 12 points against the 18 points against the previous number. And if you look at the Idaho State side of things, 4 overs in a row. Pepperdine goes over 138.5. Linwood goes over 132. Fresno over 130. And then Southern Utah at over 143.5. This team's not having a tough time putting up the 65 points that we're going to need for them to get there. It's what Oregon State can do. And, Oregon State kind of rises up against some of these scrubbier teams out there. So, they've got 74 points against Utah Valley, 70 points against Cal Poly, and then 71 points against UC Davis. So it wasn't until that Pittsburgh game where they kind of had their stinker a couple weeks ago where they lost 76-51. But we know that Pittsburgh defense has strengthened up. That was something that they put a focus on off season and getting better at defense so that they can go out there and have a chance to compete and run deep in the tournament. And I think that's just the case in this spot here tonight. So let's keep it rolling. Next game we're going to talk about for you guys. The second spot I have on the card in college hoops tonight. This is a spot where I think the train's coming and Eastern Washington is just standing on the tracks about to get plowed in this game. So when you look at the numbers here, specifically, I'm looking at the previous game that these 2 teams played. When you look at Washington, tough spot against Seattle. I'm just trying to pull this up here. I think it was a tough spot against Seattle, right? They came out there early. They were getting bludgeoned in the first half, and they had to struggle to come back and win the game outright. It was a score fest, too. I want to say it was 100-99. The line opens at 15 points, 83% of the bets, and 91% of the cash on Eastern Washington. No movement, none, right? So now we look at the total, 75% of the bets on the under, 98% of the cash on the under, about a point of movement, depending on where you look in this game. But again, the thing that jumped out for me specifically with this game was Washington in this bounce back position here. This is a bad spot for Eastern Washington rolling in, who, they have covered spreads, but the break even or the Mendoza line for Washington is like 12 points. When they're getting 12, they can cover. They did that against Washington State. But when they go to 12.5, they lose to Stanford. They get 17.5, they lose to USC. They go back and they play Air Force. They're getting 7 and they get the job done. So I think this is that bounce back opportunity where, again, I mentioned, you look at Washington, 100-99 at Seattle. It was a road game. I think their coaching is going to be elite in the ability to get them to rebound and get this thing moving in the right direction. So we're going to keep it brief, keep it short, and move on now. I've got a 3-pack for you in the NBA as well, and I want to get in there and get our guy ready for the NHL. I see him already back there, punctual as ever, and that's important. So I want to not keep him on ice, but let's keep it rolling for you guys. Let's talk about the NBA. Couple of looks for you here. Just a 3-spot, like I said, short, sweet, and to the point. It's a huge hockey card tonight, and it's a wide berth of sports across the card. So trying to keep it kind of tight and right. But the first spot that I looked at here, I went to the Clippers game. The Clippers OKC Thunder. The line opens at 3.5. It's now 6. 74% of the bets, 95% of the cash on the OKC Thunder. I was tempted to pull the trigger on the Thunder, But I don't like the Thunder as a favorite. Now, can they come out there and get the job done? Maybe. But I'm looking at the total. 233.5 has moved to 236.5. 80% of the bets, only 17% of the cash on the over. So the public money in this case is banging away on that over, and I think it's for good cause. Teams that are on a 3-game or higher winning streak against the spread off a 2+ game road trip are 38-7 to the over, and they're going over by 12 points when they don't have any rest. So that tells me just what we need to know. We've talked about this before. The unrested teams kind of D up at the beginning, but as the second half carries on, we start to see these things explode. Furthermore, when teams are on the second half of a back-to-back, the over's hitting at almost a 70% rate as well. So again, that's a spot where the legs get tired. I think it's a great opportunity. The Clippers have kind of found themselves. They're moving forward, and I think they're in a position to come out here and get the job done. So, short and abbreviated spot so that we can get into hockey. But I did go to the LA Clippers over 236. The number now 236.5. So again, I think it's just that spot for the unrested team traveling to come in there and let those legs get tired. Next game we're going to talk about for you guys. Double dipper here. It's a parlay. It's the same game parlay here, but it's just a player spot. We know about Kobe White. We know what Kobe White's done out there. And when you look at the other side of things, we're looking at Wembanyama, 3+ blocks. And this is the spot that we talked about before. When I saw this thing, Kobe White kind of coming off a tough game, his last spot out there. He did not get the job done. Mismatch there when the Bulls were playing the Lakers. And his worst performance going back to November 14th against the Raptors. But it's a rebound opportunity for this guy. And we know that since Levine's been out, all he does is produce. Furthermore, when you look at the points per position, the Spurs allow the 4th most points to the point guard position. I took Kobe White down from his current 22.5. I got him at 20+ points. And then I went to the Wembanyama spot again. Again, coming off the spot, he's still averaging 3 blocks a game. I know he's only a rookie, but this matchup, I think, is favorable for him against the Bulls. He's got to play, obviously, to get it done, but the Bulls playing in that back-to-back. What did I just say about back-to-backs? We see that they tend to start going on the overs, which means there's going to be more opportunities for shots to be flying out there. And at this point here, the numbers actually change. This is a DraftKings number. Kobe White, 20+ points, and Wembanyama over 2.5 blocks is plus 156. So we got that spot in there. It's just a little double dipper here to try to keep it tight and right. Want to make sure that, try to capitalize where we can, but not leave any money on the table and not be too greedy when it comes down to it. Last spot that I'm looking at for you guys in the NBA. Again, keeping this brisk pace tonight, so it's just me rocking on this thing. I do have one more, and I see it's not queued up, so I'll just kind of talk about it briefly here. I'm going to the under in the Bucks game. I know it's the Bucks; they're an over team. I got it. I hear you. But we look at the total. The line opens at 7.5. We're seeing 9s out there for the Orlando Magic now. Everybody's betting the Magic. They're one of the best cover teams in the NBA, but 45% of the bets, 84% of the cash on the Magic, and it keeps moving in their direction. You guys know I correlate the favorites to the unders. We look at the total. It opened at 239, and at 239, we're still seeing 239s out there. 78% of the bets and 86% of the cash on the over, and we got a frozen line. So again, a line is not moving, even though everybody's betting the over. The natural public reaction is to say, oh, the Magic or the Bucks are an over team. However, the Bucks 13-0 to the under when they've got 3 or more blocks versus a conference opponent the previous game. And they went under the last time they played the opponent head-to-head by 10 points. The Magic 12-0 to the under when they've gone against an opponent they covered 3 or more points the previous meeting after a conference loss. It's an intersecting 0 spot, and it was a last-minute ad. I had to, again, looking for the line movement, trying to do a better job of capturing the line movement and then incorporating it to what we're doing here when it comes to trying to validate these trends. So the third play for the card in the NBA is the under 239 with the Magic and the Bucks out there. So that's going to do it for the NBA. And again, moving briskly. Appreciate everybody dropping in here. If you haven't done so already, hit the like button for us there. Want to promote the brand and getting more excited by the second to bring on our next guest out there. Again, had the opportunity to work with this guy. It's great because MMA extraordinaire does the homework, does the research, but it all comes down to this guy loves to promote the regional brands too. You got to tell me he's not only proficient in the MMA when it comes to the UFC and Bellator and so on, but then you start looking at a guy that works his ass off to stay down in the regionals and promote that brand as well. Then it turns out, oh, by the way, he gets into hockey. I said, man, let me get this guy together. Let me bring him on to Last Call. You guys might not have seen him before, but he's got big things going on as well over at the City Life Project. Let me bring on Isha, our guy, our guest. Welcome to Last Call, Isha. How are you?
Hey, great to be back on the show, man. Thank you so much for the invite. Yeah, I mean, let me just say right now, the UFC is the NFL, the NBA of MMA, far from the best league. Not even close, dude. Not even close. One championship, Ryzen, Octagon, KSW, way more entertaining than the UFC. So I'll say that right now. Support the regionals, support the other leagues, because the true combat sports fans don't bend over for the UFC. So I'm just going to say that right off the bat. So thank you for the introduction. Happy to be here. Hockey's my first love, so always down to talk puck.
Well, we know you're a Canadian transplanted man over to Minnesota. So
yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, Don Cherry's on the desk proudly here, giving the thumbs up. Let's go.
The bobbled Don Cherry, and we've been having a pretty successful hockey season. So I'm excited. We got to move quickly here. We've got to get this stuff in here. We got a big hockey card to break this thing down with, but we're going to start first and foremost. And I guess what we'll do is I'll just we'll kind of do the same thing we did with the MMA. I'll tee it up. Here's some of your thoughts on the game, and if you don't have anything you like one way or the other, then we'll just move on from it. But we're going to start this thing off here with this St. Louis and Florida game. The St. Louis Blues starting Joel Hofer out there in goal at 5-5, 3.13 goals against average, 89.3% save percentage. And then we've got the starter, the head cheese, Sergei Bobrovsky at 14-8-1 confirmed in goal at 2.49 goals against average, 91.1% save percentage. What are your thoughts?
I obviously like the Panthers on this one. The Blues are about to enter the rebuild phase, I imagine, very, very soon. Still kind of holding on for dear life. I think the honeymoon phase of, them losing or their coach being fired it's going to come down soon. I mean, the Wild just went through it. They're coming kind of back down to earth as well. The Panthers are just damn good, dude. And they play a very tough game. They're skilled, and, goalie Bob is seemingly back. So, I haven't been impressed with the Blues this season. Now, I didn't expect them to be that great coming into this season. And I fired up your chat, by the way. They're coming at me. But yeah, so I'm going with the Panthers here, and I think the lines reflect that.
Yeah, I like the Panthers. I think when you look at this Hofer spot there in goal, it's just not the right opportunity for this guy. He's been maybe a little bit better when it comes to the relief side of things, but when he's the out starter there, he's 0-3 right now on a 3-game losing streak, and not a good spot for him. So I didn't have much on this game either. I see Kelly V, one of our sharp hockey cappers in the chat. She says over one first period Florida game. So you're saying over one goal or one goal in the first period from our girl Kelly V. Michael Johnson says first period overs, Edmonton Stars and the Toronto game. Yeah, we'll be talking about those as well. And the chat gets fired up, man. These guys are ready to rock.
I love it. And hey, come at me, guys. Come hit me up on the City Life. Show me some love. Show me some hate. But follow the regional shows. That's where the stars are born. Just like junior hockey, World Juniors just around the corner. That's where it's at, buddy.
By the way, one of my favorite tournaments. I love it over that.
It is the best tournament in sports, 100%.
Young talent. A lot of these guys are drafted as well, so you can kind of get an idea to see like some of the older guys, anyways, that are in spots to go out there.
The U.S. team is going to be awesome this year. They're going to be so good. They ain't going to choke like last year. I'm telling you.
they do have a tendency to kind of choke when the lights are bright. So
no, they're so good this year.
Let's keep it moving here. We'll keep this brisk pace and get through this card with everybody out here. But we've got Kotikov for the Carolina Hurricanes. We got Nedeljkovic for the Pittsburgh Penguins in an interesting spot with a 7-6-2 Kotikov, 2.65 goals against average and 89.5% save percentage. And then on the other side of things with Nedeljkovic, we got 4-2-1, 2.58 goals against average and a 92.5% save percentage. When I was kind of looking at this game and I started looking at, first and foremost, we see a ton of cash coming in on the Hurricanes. And I'm not a big cash flow guy when it comes to the NHL, because I don't think we see a lot of like sharper bettors or bigger bettors taking, big money line spots here. But if you look at Pittsburgh, they kind of went through their turmoil, but they came back. They took down Arizona 4-2 at their home barn. They went on the road to Montreal, tough spot for Montreal, who's been playing a lot better, to win that game 4-3. Then they got blasted 7-0 by Toronto. Now they're kind of on this little homestand where they beat Minnesota 4-3 in their last game. On the other side of things, it's kind of the opposite with Carolina, where they're kind of in the midst of that mediocrity, if you want to call it that at best here. You should take it away for us.
The Penguins have been like disgusting disgustingly inconsistent this year. And so like I haven't, like, I'm not laying any money on Pittsburgh at all until maybe the last 20 games where I see something. It's one night they're on, one night they're not, and the team is not giving Crosby any backup at all. I mean, a lot of people love to rip on Malkin too. I'm a huge Malkin defender. Those two guys have delivered this season, right? More so than the rest of the team. Obviously, Jake Gensel, top of scoring. I mean, he's always going to be good as well. But if you start looking at the nitty gritty and really analyzing this team, I mean, it's utter inconsistency. You can't really blame like one single player. It's just like some nights they're on it and they're backing up Crosby and Malkin. Some nights they aren't. So having said that, every team in this division has been just like, I mean, the fact that Philly is up there in the second spot right behind, and I know you're a Flyers fan, that's awesome. But I mean, if you're a Flyers fan, don't you want a freaking top pick? Like, what is going on here? So this division's super tough to call. I have to just go with Carolina because I think they're, again, in a division of so much inconsistency and, you know, part of my French, like, what the fuck is going on? I trust Carolina a little bit more, especially their back end. But yeah, I have no faith in Pittsburgh as far as like being consistent. And that's what scares me. Cause like they'll come out and look like the top team that, you know, we kind of thought they were. And then some nights they look like they did in the Toronto game. And even against Minnesota, they weren't dominating by any means, right? It was a very much back and forth game where I was expecting Pittsburgh to have a little bit more firepower in that one.
Yeah, yes, you're right on about the Flyers there. I've said it on the show multiple times. They're too stupid to be losing or know they should be losing. It's all about trying to capture a draft pick. I even saw something the other day that chat me up there where they were saying Nolan Patrick's officially retired. And I thought to myself, if you haven't played in the NHL, are you even retiring? I mean, the guy's been injured right from the hop. I know he got drafted with a series of injuries. But
yeah, I'm a huge WHL fan. Like I probably watch more WHL hockey than even NHL. I love the junior leagues, just like I love the regional MMA shows. And yeah, man, he was an absolute beast as a junior, but he took so much. Like when you have back surgery before you even drafted, I mean, that's not good. That's not good.
Yeah, and then he fleeced not just the Flyers, but then the Flyers were able to offload him to Vegas and make some moves on that as well to save some cash. So I was happy to see Danny Briere make some of those early moves as a GM in his tenure there. He was interim GM, I want to say, at the time as well.
And I like Briere, and then I think the Flyers will rebuild and come back strong. But again, back to the topic, like I just don't trust the Penguins this year. They're more inconsistent than last year, and last year they were pretty inconsistent as well. But that whole division is just, again, what the hell is going on in that division?
Well, I've got this next game here that I've got my first official move there. We've got the skates laced up, and we're trying to get to the books with this one here. I started off, it's the Capitals and the Blue Jackets. And I know this is not going to be a popular pick. I know a lot of sharp cappers that we trust in the chat have talked about this being a great Blue Jacket spot. And, if you look at the numbers, 82% of the bets and 88% of the cash banging in on them Blue Jackets. And then from a starting goalie perspective, I'm not necessarily enamored with what I'm seeing because it's that Lindgren spot for Washington. On the other side with Columbus, we've got Merzlikins out there. And the one thing I'll say about Lindgren is he is 6-3-2 with a 2.45 goals against average. And the flip side of things with Merzlikins, he's kind of the struggle of the Columbus Blue Jackets in their entirety. Obviously, he's the starter and the go-to at 7-8-4. He's got a 3.19 goals against average. Have you had a chance to take a look at this one?
Yeah. This one, the thing about Columbus is like, they're not, for being at the bottom of the division, like they're not a horrendous team by any means. Like they're not Montreal level. They're not San Jose level. I mean, and that's being really disrespectful if anyone's comparing to them. Like they're sound, they're fine. They're competitive in most games. The Capitals, again, kind of like the Pittsburgh Penguins, except with less scoring, very inconsistent as well. They win games by playing a tight checking game, by getting a little puck luck, by their goalie standing on their head. I think as an I was going to say underdog. I've been watching way too many fights. But, as someone coming in at plus money, I think Columbus isn't the worst bet just because, again, how inconsistent the Capitals are. The Capitals should win this game, but I think coming in again, plus money, I don't think Columbus is the worst bet, but the Capitals are the better team. Again, it just comes down to inconsistency, and that's what's crazy about the National Hockey League.
Yeah, week in and week out, day in and day out. I mean, that's one of those things where you get an everyday type of sport, and those streak, it's players that can get streaky just like anything else. So the teams, and then certainly the goaltending kind of has to lead the way for them. So, hear me out with this one. Here's how I ended up with the Capitals. First of all, I look at it and I think Columbus just scored 9 goals against the Sabres, right? So that's kind of the we'll call it the blown load factor. When you put up 9 goals out there, like you kind of gassed yourselves out a little bit. No different than in fighting terms, the guys coming out in that first round and just swinging bombs the entire time. Also, when you look at teams that are away teams that are off a win and an under in the Eastern Conference are 58-20 overall, 7-1 in their last 8 on that stretch. So you've got an away team that just played a tight game and picked up the W specifically against the East. The second one I looked at is this is the back-to-back, and this is where I kind of had to turn the plane into the storm, if you will, where I know everyone's saying the Blue Jackets make the right decision here because Capitals just had this game. But would you know that when you have a team in the NHL this year that's on their second leg of a back-to-back with no rest, they're 12-5.
It's so crazy, right? It's nuts. And that's why, like, betting on the NHL, it's an art, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like it defies the common sense there where you think these guys got to be gassed and tired. But, this is one of those things where they're incredibly, I think, athletic players out there. They've got 4 lines to kind of fall onto. So that was a tight game that they just had, obviously, coming off with that overtime victory. But for me, it was a spot where I said, I'm going to take that opportunity. The numbers are in the direction. It's now -111. I'm not in love with the fact that the line's becoming more attractive to bet, but my bet is on that. We'll lock down 111. That's what we do here with Last Call, Isha, is that we look at these last-minute moves. We lock in these numbers. We capture this line flow and correlated movement and try to come up with the plays. And I just think this trend is too strong for me to move away from. So
no, fair enough. I just want to say quickly, what's up, Joey in the chat, and Chris? Yeah, Ovi, it's sad to see this year, man, because I've wanted him to break Gretzky's record in like 2-3 seasons as well. And poor TJ Oshie, man, 4 or 5 points on the season. I know he's had back issues. He has to give up golf in the offseason because his back is so messed up, and he's been an absolute warrior for the Capitals and the Blues before. So I mean, shout out to the former North Dakota Sioux. And I hope he actually gets his groove back a little bit. And Jared, yes, I'm in James Lynch's streams quite a bit. He's a good friend and a supporter of my channel.
That's what it's all about here, getting the opportunity to introduce everybody to new guys that are doing lots of things out there to try to find ways to help everybody just get more educated in the sport. And
I just love your live chat. They're awesome. So like, shout out to the live chat here. You guys are amazing.
They rock, man. They kick ass and they put great winners
awesome,
out there as well. So everybody comes ready to play when it comes time, especially now, because we don't have the time to waste. We got to get into these things. We got to get everybody out. We got to get them to the windows to get ready to rock in some tickets out there. So, we've got this next game. Let's talk about this one here. We're looking at my Flyers. We just shit all over them, and only because they're doing well at this current point here. But we've got UC Saros at 14-11 with the Nashville Predators, 2.85 goals against average. We've got Samuel Harrison now, the backup, going in again for the Flyers here at 8-3-2. More than a serviceable backup here. The team's gotten points in 8 meetings in a row, 7-0-1 in their last 8. He's allowed 3 or fewer goals in each of those games with 93%. So Flyers 7-0-2 in their last 9 games. They're small home favorites to a Nashville team just coming off a loss. What do you think?
Is Saros in tonight? I didn't check Daily Faceoff on that one.
I guess I should refresh it. It's unconfirmed. I was just kind of going, but yeah, it's confirmed.
Okay.
Now.
Okay.
Confirmed.
I got to go with Nashville then. I mean, I know like he hasn't been playing like out of his mind as of late, but like a UC Saros at his floor is still better than like half the goalies in the National Hockey League. And though like the Predators, they're still the Predators of old. Like they never really have addressed like being a high volume firepower team when it comes to scoring, but they always seem to, with even coaching changes and regime changes now, they still have that identity, built in front of Saros as like a tight checking team. And if you make a mistake, then they'll kick your ass there. I actually am very excited for this game based on how good Philly has been playing. And again, surprisingly, and that's a compliment. I just figured my roommate's a Philly fan as well. And he's like, what the fuck's going on here? I want that top pick. I'm going with Nashville now that Saros is in net, because I think like even if they trade goals back and forth, I think he'll be that wall to tighten up the game. But yeah, I like Nashville in this one.
All right, I like it. Our guy moving with the Preds, and I can't disagree. I want him to start losing, and I said this at the start of the season too. Like it gets to like December, and they're at the top of the standings, and then everybody starts to get their teams together, and the weaknesses really start to become exploited for the Flyers, and then they just fall and plummet, and then they end up with like a 5 pick or a 6 pick, and not to say that there's not talent that deep in the draft.
Typical Torts, man. He brings the best out of the guys, and those who can't handle it, get out of here. We don't want you. I'm a huge Tortorella guy.
I love the guy getting aggressive, and he goes out there. He was just doing a conference the other day. He's like, stop emailing me, stop writing me letters telling me that we should be tanking. We are not tanking. We're out here.
And that's why he was kicked out of Columbus, right? Because people just couldn't handle the hard. And you know what's the best thing about him is he is there for his players. He's the ultimate player coach. And he has no issue backing up his boys to the media, in front of the media. And that's why I love him. I guess that's what you're saying there, Brooksy. Oh, one of the best lines ever.
I love he ripped the iPads out of the guy's hands on the bench early in the season. He's like, we don't need iPads. We need these guys watching the game, adjusting to the speed and trying to figure it out. So a little bit of old school, but you're right. The players know that he's got their backs. And if he's not one of those guys that beat around the bush, he'll go right out in the media and tell them exactly what he thinks about you.
Love him. Love Torts.
Next game on our docket, boys and girls here. I know our guy Real Deal Prime's not going to be too excited to see this play for me here, but I know we've got Samsonov and that Ilya Samsonov and net at 5-1-5. 5-1-5. I mean, impressive in itself that he's got 5 overtime losses, 3.51 goals against average, 87.8 save percentage. And then Devin Levi, the resurgence of Levi at 6-4-2 with a 3.26 goals against average, 89.2. We know two things are going on when it comes to the blowouts. The Sabres are trying to rebound off of a blowout loss there. And the Toronto Maple Leafs obviously just had that huge performance with the Pittsburgh Penguins there, shutting them down 7-0. But, if you look at kind of what they did after that, they're kind of in a spot where they had the Rangers coming back on deck and they got beat up 5-2. So is this the rebound spot, Isha? What do you think?
I'm going to say yes. I was telling you off air that the Sabres have already broken my heart because every year I place a kind of a wild futures bet, and I'm like, okay, a team that really looks good on paper with some young talent that maybe could pop. I thought that was going to be the Buffalo Sabres this year. I wasn't confident in them winning the cup by any means, but I was like, if I'm the odds, well, shit, I can pay off my student loans if that hits, and even if they get far in the playoffs, that's something I can flex on. Yeah, they talk about inconsistency. They have not. They're not there yet. Their young core is not there yet. However, coming off a blowout, we tend to see these trends in the National Hockey League where they're going to have a better showing. They're going to tighten things up. The coach is going to make sure that's going to happen. They're going to have the right matchups. They're going to have the right changes. And the players aren't going to want to get embarrassed like that anymore. So I think the Sabres are actually really going to bring it, depending on how the Maple Leafs respond. The Maple Leafs are so good. They could truly beat anyone in the National Hockey League. But like you said, coming off that blowout to the Penguins, maybe they're feeling themselves a little bit. And I think the Sabres always come to play against the Leafs too, right? They're rivals in their own right as well. Historically, they've always played good games against each other. So I would say yes on Buffalo, but I'm tentative because they've already kind of broken my heart this season. And I hate the Leafs more than I love my mother. So I can't say anything nice about them.
Shout out to your mom there. And, when we look at
she knows. I was born on the West Coast. We get Toronto sports shoved down our friggin' throats. Everyone from BC, they know. They hate Toronto just as much as me.
So I looked at this one and I thought, well, first of all, I don't enjoy going to too many live sports anymore because the games have been just kind of set up for television now. And there's so many other games going on that there's a lot to get into. But the only matchups I like to go see these days are when the Sabres play the Flyers and when the Sabres play the Leafs, because there's so many Leafs fans that make that trek down. It's only like an hour and a half to get to the Sabres games. And that makes it for a lot of fun in the rivalry. But, you touched on this one here, and this is ultimately what led me to the Toronto spot. We've got a revenge opportunity. They lost to the Sabres when they were home favorites earlier this season. So in season, when you're in a revenge spot, and now you're the away favorite, as long as the line's less than a -200 spot, 518 and 269. So huge sample size over almost 800 games in the sample, showing that in that revenge spot, we always talk about what does it mean and can you quantify what those revenge spots look like? And in this case here, it just seems like that's the opportunity to get it done. Furthermore, when the line is in the revenge spot and teams are less than a -150 spot off that loss, the 24-9 in those spots in the revenge. So a couple different ways to look at it. If the line gets a little bit more bloated than they should when they're getting the job done, but as you shrink that line up a little bit more to that -150, they're still getting it done. So even though it's a small favorite, it doesn't concern me. But the spot that I looked at was keeping the juice down. I think it's a regulation spot here. I think Buffalo's a little tired. I think they're getting ready for the holidays here, and it's a good, I said this before, this is kind of something that's hard to quantify, but when you look at it, you got young guys with lots of money in their pockets, and they're in an opportunity where hockey players throw great Christmas parties. It's Christmas time of year. They get that break off that's coming up, and I wouldn't be too surprised to see that's on their mind as the opportunity to move forward as well. It's a revenge-minded Leafs team that's trying to move forward, and they kind of had a sluggish start. So I'm going to put my money on this Toronto regulation spot. But I could see it going. I'm not entirely in love with it. It's an official play that I'm on. It's just not something that I love. So let's keep it rolling. Let's talk about this next game here.
Best game of the night. If you're a fan of hockey, this is the best game of the night. This is the best game of the night. Two highly skilled teams. Like, don't read into where Tampa is in the standings thus far. We all know Vasilevsky's injured coming into the season. He's been playing good coming back, and their backup has been serviceable. I believe he's still 90 save percentage, or just above there as well, right off the top of my head. So like, he's been serviceable. Victor Hedman has been an absolute, I mean, he's always a beast, but he has been an absolute terror this year. 29 points in 32 games. Kucherov is absolutely daddying the entire league right now. It's unbelievable. What, 54, 55 points so far on the season, 22, 23 goals, like unbelievable performance. And you just look at the firepower that both of these teams have. Obviously, Tampa, they put up more goals, but Vegas is very, very good defensively, and even some of their forwards are outstanding defensively as well. I mean, Mark Stone, arguably one of the best defensive forwards in the National Hockey League. I would say, just behind like Eriksson Ek right now on the Minnesota Wild. Like, unbelievable stuff. I love this matchup, man. I love this matchup. I want to hear where you're at before I give my official pick.
Yeah, so I'm, you know what? I'm off of this game. I as a fan of the game, I would lean, just simply because of the way these two teams are matched, I would lean to the Golden Knights. But then I looked at their goaltending. They're going out with Patera is going to be the guy that gets in goal here. So Logan Thompson and Aiden Hill are both kind of the guys to go to, but they've been battling injuries right now. So, he gets the call up. He's coming out there, getting it done. And, it's going to be his second appearance of the season. I had a 6-3 loss to the Hurricanes. Didn't look so strong in that appearance there, but I could be willing to dismiss it just in the fact that you're kind of getting that call up, the big team with big expectations, and it's maybe your shot. So you don't want to blow it, but at the same time, I think he did just that. So, second year netminder, second year goalie, 92.4% saving over his 4 career appearances here. Not anything to shake a stick at, but is a Tampa Bay just too fired up and hot right now? They got their guy back, Vasilevsky, coming off of, what was it, the hip surgery that he had, or the back surgery that he had earlier this season. And he kind of struggled to find his form, but just that, now they're 5-2 in the last 7 spots out there, and small home favorite, I think, makes sense. But the Golden Knights, again, haven't lost 2 of their last 3. Doesn't feel like it's a great spot. They're allowing a lot of goals as well. So I love the Kucherov opportunity to get another point tonight. But I just had to stay off of this game. I'm just curious to hear your looks on it.
It's the goaltending. You hit the nail on the head. I mean, both of their, I guess, their 1A and 1B, as you said, Thompson and Hill, like, for being younger goalies, I've been unbelievably impressed with how they've been able to come into the National Hockey League without many speed bumps, without many hiccups, and they've found their groove, and I absolutely love that duo. But with them out, like you said, and just how offense forward the Tampa Bay Lightning are, like, the Tampa Bay Lightning are probably going to outshoot them. So I'm a little tentative. Picking Vegas is my official pick just because of that. If not, I would probably stay off this one as well, just because I would just sit back and enjoy the matchup. Because I think, like I said, tonight, this is going to be one of the, in my opinion, this is the best game tonight if you're just watching as a fan.
Well, let's go. So we'll pass on that game, or are you leaning one side or the other?
I'll say I'll pick Lightning, but I'm not confident either.
Well, we don't need to force it for you. Let's go. We got plenty more to go.
I'll pick Lightning because of the goalies, like I said, but again, it should be a fun game, guys.
Let's go. Let's talk about this next one for you guys. Edmonton and the New Jersey Devils. Another interesting spot here where Edmonton putting Calvin Pickard in goal. The Devils with Akira Schmid. I was a straight pass on this game as well. My action comes later on again in the card. In this case here, I looked at this thing. The total's pegged at 7. They're expecting a lot of goals. We kind of have the goaltending matchup to do so with Pickard at a 2.99 goals against average, and then Schmidt on the other side at 3.12. I was almost thinking this might even be a really good overtime spot where both these teams are potentially looking at Stanley Cup playoff matchup in the finals here. I think New Jersey's a great spot to go deep, and Edmonton, since the coaching change, might not have the capability to go all the way, but they got a lot of firepower and a lot of reason to go out there and get it done. Anything for you on this one?
Yeah, I think this one actually will be pretty high scoring. Again, like you pointed out with the goaltenders. I mean, both the Hughes brothers have been on an absolute tear. Like you said, since the coaching change, McDavid and Draisaitl, they're back. Like they're back to their old ways as well. It's just Edmonton. It's tough, man. It's tough. I like New Jersey on this one. But I think it's going to be, I don't know what the over-under on goals is, but I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I still haven't bought into the Oilers. I know they've, like you said, come back since the coaching change, but the honeymoon phase can only last so long. And I do like some of their depth as well. Like I think Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is criminally underrated. But again, what on the Edmonton Oilers defensive side is going to give you confidence that they're going to stop the New Jersey Devils? Ekholm, if anything, he was brought in to plug that defensive hole, and he's been better on the offensive side of things, right? Getting involved in the rush and setting that up. Edmonton's defense, Edmonton's goaltending I think it's been really, really bad all year. A little bit better now. I don't think McDavid and Draisaitl are going to bail them out of this one. I liked what I've seen in New Jersey thus far, and that's why I'm picking them.
All right.
Total 7 says Jeff in the live chat. What's up, Jeff?
And then JPZ likes the Oilers, and Mel says the Oilers team total over 3.5. So it'll be interesting to come back and review that one tomorrow, because that certainly looks like it's got the makings of a battle. The total suggests it's going to be a battle, and it's almost like neither one of these teams wants to show anything because they're going backup goaltenders. But let's keep it moving here. We got to go. We got 5 more games to get through here, and then we got to get everybody out. So let's go. Let's rock. We got the Vancouver Canucks, the Dallas Stars in this battle here as well. We've got Thatcher Demko confirmed as the starter out there with a 16-7 record. Dallas struggling since Ottinger's been out, but they've been winning games. Their lineup's just been struggle when it comes to goaltending. They got Scotty Wedgwood going out there, Wedgewall at 7-1-2 with a 3.21 goals against average. My lean on this play, nothing official for me, but the first period over for Dallas has been kicking ass and taking names. They've been going over 1.5. It was a minus 120 spot to get it done with. It's a lean for me at best. Again, I've got some plays on the later spots in the card here, but anything from you on this one?
I love how this is the second team in the Pacific going up against the second in the Central. And you said it with Ottinger and the goalie situation there. I mean, they had the E-bug, what was it, like a week ago come in or a few days ago come in as well. The Canucks just dropped this morning. The Canucks were the favorite. I see that they're the underdogs now, plus 110. So I'm smashing that all day, every day. And I don't know if this is the case, but I saw that Kuzmenko was scratched today by the Vancouver Canucks. And as soon as that happened, I went and checked the lines and I was like, oh, Canucks are plus on this now. He's been fed to the fourth line, hasn't been really doing much on the fourth line because he's not a fourth line player. He's a scorer. He's a north-south Hudson Bay row, as we like to say in Canada. He attacks the net and goes at it. So maybe that's the reason why the Canucks have fallen there. I'm not sure, but I think the Canucks are just going to be way too aggressive. They're one of the best scoring teams in the National Hockey League right now. And they've added some size on the back end, because at the start of the season, I would have said, Dallas, or earlier on the season, say Dallas plays a little bit more of a heavy game, but the Canucks, they've addressed that, and they're giving their young, speedy players and more frail but talented guys the room to work now. I mean, Höglander's on the second line, for God's sake. So I think the Canucks are going to take this one. I just think they beat Dallas everywhere.
And Kelly B says Vancouver 7-0 versus Dallas.
There you go.
Mel likes that spot as well. Yeah. Kelly V says JT Miller point for Vancouver as well. I think that's a good sneaky spot for Vancouver with that plus money look. I like the look. Isha. Let's go. Let's keep it moving here, keeping a brisk pace. We're over time, so we want to make sure we get this thing capped off for you guys and get you out of here ready to go. Next game we're going to talk about for you here. We'll keep it brief. We've got Monteball and the Montreal Canadiens sporting a 7-4-2 record on the road against the Minnesota Wild, and Philip Gustafsson at 8-8-2 as well. Another situation where, since the coaching change was made, Minnesota has been kind of on the step up angle here, but Canadians not too shabby, 2-0-1 in their last 3, getting points in each of their last 3. Isha, do you think there's a shot that Montreal pulls the job off tonight?
I don't know. Minnesota, if I'm not mistaken, has had their number this season. I think Minnesota plays. Minnesota, they've had trouble scoring throughout this season as well. Kaprizov seems like he's back. Gustafsson has played a lot better than he has at the start of the season. And I just don't. Again, I think the Minnesota Wild and John Hines are going to do a very good job in line matchups for this one. And the one scoring line, let's be honest, that the Montreal Canadiens have been able to employ this year. I mean, Minnesota's going to put Hartman and or X line on them, and they're going to completely shut them down. So it could be a low scoring game, but I think the Wild are going to absolutely dominate.
Okay. I like it. I like the look. I like the insight. Let's go. We're getting through it, you guys here. We're rocking down to this next big one here. Ottawa, Colorado. We already heard from Mel with the boots on the ground talking about some of these lineup opportunities and the activity that's taking place out there. So lots of pressure right now. We've got some guys calling guys out in the locker room saying they need to step up. Makar intermittently injured. Back it looks like here for this game as well. And when you look at the goaltending setup here, we've got Anton Forsberg, and we've got Alexander Grigoriev there in the goal at 15-8-1. Their go-to and their ace, and a situation where, I played the Ottawa changing the coach's angle the other day, and they came out 3-0. Then they fell flat and just let Arizona come back and dominate them here. So they're still on the West Coast. Second game with the coaching change. What do you think?
I think despite them dropping that second game after the coaching change, they're still kind of in that honeymoon stage, and players, it's fact, man. Players, they rise to the occasion when the coaches change, because they either want to, get the same minutes with that coach, or show that, it wasn't our fault, that all this happened, or, out of respect for the coach that was fired, whatever the reason, they always seem to be fired up after that. Look, the Avs are the smart pick, but with everything that I keep reading about, seeing in regards to the Avs locker room and things like that, the Sens might be able to take this one, man. I'm leaning, any other day, I would say that the Avs, they're the easy pick, but I think the Sens, especially coming off that loss, they're going to want to end this road trip on top. I think they take this one.
Yeah, I see Colorado. I see JPZ says the first period over. The note that I had down for this one here, something I'm going to look to live bet. So when we get on the show here later on, we'll look to live bet the second period over. That's smart. That's smart betting the live on this one, because again, the smart pick is the Avs are the better team. No ifs, ands, or buts, right? But you start digging a little deeper into what's going on in that Avs locker room, and put it this way: if the Sens, are up 2 goals going in the second, who knows what is being said in between periods and who's yelling at who in the Avs locker room? If the locker room is a little bit poisoned right now, if the Sens even score the first goal, that could be a snowball effect, right? I completely agree. And Chris Max says RotoWire showing Korpisalo's expected. Yeah, I still have the unconfirmed Forsberg since the refresh I did just a couple of moments ago. So number one second period over team in the NHL right now at home on their home ice is the Colorado Avalanche. And I think it's that opportunity. So we'll keep our eyes on that. We'll look for that one. We've got 2 games left. You'll see here's where I line back up here and put myself back in the game. It's Jacob Markstrom for the Calgary Flames at 7-8-2, coming back from the injury. It's, I believe, his second start since the injury. On the other side of things, we've got Dostal in the net for the Anaheim, as I say, Mighty Ducks, the Anaheim Ducks. And short and
the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim, baby.
Love those old school jerseys they had. Now they've kind of segued away from their Disney roots here. But a couple thoughts that I had here. When some of these angles that we've been tracking, Isha, have to do with teams that are playing after they've played other opponents or certain opponents. Those certain opponents are Dallas, Toronto, Detroit, and San Jose.
Yeah.
They're in spots where after they play those teams, for whatever reason, maybe it's the physical nature of the games, maybe it's the fact that the teams don't match up very well against them. I don't know. 11-36 to the under, and they've been going under by a full goal in terms of the margin on those spots. The second thing I was looking at here is when you've got a line between -175 and -185. Those teams are 0-20 on the dog spot, and they're losing by 2 3/4 goals. So it's a blowout opportunity when I broke those 2 numbers down. I looked at Markstrom versus Dostal, and I thought, well, yeah, that kind of supports Calgary. I don't want to lay the big juice with Calgary, but that solid under trend came out there. So I've got the Calgary and under 6.5 is a +185 spot for me that I picked up on DraftKings.
I like that. I'm in your corner there. We know how the Ducks play. They're a young core as well. When they score high, they abandon defense. And if there's one thing that the Flames have been able to kind of do is their third, second line. They've been okay as far as keeping it a tight checking game. And Jacob Markstrom, I've always been a fan of Jacob Markstrom. I know his time in Calgary, his second year onward hasn't been great, facing injuries and things like that. But I'm on board with everything you said there. I'm picking the Flames too.
Let's go Calgary. Last game on the docket for us here. We've got the Arizona Coyotes and the San Jose Sharks. And I'm dogging with this one. I'm going for the nice +132 spot. we've got the Melka in goal for the Arizona Coyotes at 4.72. He's got a 3.02 goals against average. We've got Mackenzie Blackwood, stinks out there at 4-12, but it's not so much. He does stink. There's no question about it. But the rest of the team kind of stinks too on his behalf. And, for me, I arrived at San Jose just to kind of short, sweet, and to the point. I got a spot that I was looking at here. It's the physical game factor. It's the game after a physical game. When the Coyotes were on the road there, taking more than 20 hits the previous game, they're 4-32 in the last 46 spots. That trend NHL wide this season is 1-6. The first game of the season was a win, and then every game since then has been a loss. The teams that they lost to: Penguins, Buffalo, Dallas, St. Louis, Anaheim, and the Kings. And I looked at San Jose and I thought, well, they kind of fall in rank with a bunch of those teams. I would compare San Jose in similar nature to Buffalo, in similar nature to St. Louis, in similar nature to the Ducks. And now here we go with a spot tonight where I said, give me a plus money opportunity on a 1-6 chat. I have no chance I'm going to go the other direction here. I don't want the Coyotes right now. They just had that big comeback where they had to fight hard against an Ottawa team that was kind of rudderless out there. They did fight back, and the emotional drain that goes into that. But I'm dogging. I'm taking the plus 132. What do you think?
I'm with you. I was hoping it would be a little bit more. But hey, but that's okay. That's okay. One of those, Arizona, kind of like the Columbus Blue Jackets, have not been a horrendous team this year at all. If anything, they've played better than I expected. Logan Cooley, former Minnesota Gopher, has been doing really well with them as well, which is what I like to see. I'm thrilled to see Valimaki back in the lineup after taking a freaking 94-mile-per-hour puck to the face, leaving a hole in his face. I don't know if you heard about this. I won't go on too long, but Dallas Hospital refused to treat him a month ago. He almost died of internal bleeding. The NHLPAs had to step in, and they're suing that Dallas Hospital right now. He's back with the Mankato bubble. Glad to see that he's back out there. But at the end of the day, you said the Coyotes, their last few games have been hard-fought games. And now that the San Jose Sharks have blown their opportunity of making history by being the worst in the 70s Capitals, who only won 8 games, I'm all in on San Jose, baby. Let's go. Now that they're not setting records, who cares? Who cares? I'm not rooting for them to lose anymore.
I love it. I love the breakdowns, and I appreciate you coming in. We keep that brisk pace. You guys said it's not easy to come on the show because we rapid fire so many games in such a short period of time.
Well, and you guys are the betting experts. I'm just like a sports junkie, right? So I'm just honored that you guys want to hear me go off on your show. Seriously.
Appreciate it, and we'll get you back again, my guy. Let everybody know where they can find you, what's going on with you coming up here over the holidays, and let's do it again.
Oh, yeah. Hit me up. The City Life Project YouTube channel. If you are down for mixed martial arts, like I said, I cover UFC, all the regional shows. All these casuals on Twitter saying, oh, no, there's no more MMA. Dude, we got Pancrase. We got One Fight Night 46 tomorrow. We got Ryzen. We got the Inoue boxing match. Shit, there's more boxing this weekend as well. Guys, there's so much amazing mixed martial arts and combat sports. Glory 90 this weekend as well. I'm telling you guys, Cage Fury FC. If you're a fan of combat sports, trust me, this month, I'm almost glad that the UFC isn't on, because sometimes the UFC takes my attention away from some of these awesome regional and other promotions. It's so sweet that these other regional shows are like, all right, we're capping on, or we're taking advantage of the opportunity here with no UFC. And so there's some amazing shows. I do live streams every single weekend covering as many combat sports cards as I can. And I also have a hockey channel, Hockey and Craft Beer, the SOTA Pod, SOTA. We have a YouTube channel, and you can find it wherever you get your podcast from. If you're into college hockey, if you're into junior hockey, if you're into Minnesota, the Wild and Craft Beer, or just NHL wide, check out both of those two channels. And our live chat and community is not quite as bumping as yours, but guys, it's a great time, and I appreciate the warm welcome here.
Well, appreciate you, my guy. I hope you have a great weekend. Happy holidays to you and the family. And we'll get it back. We'll get it running again when MMA comes back. I look forward to getting involved with you some more as well. So thanks for making the time tonight. The show appreciates you. And let's get that ticket. Let's go cash some tickets. Let's find a way to pay for this Christmas
San Jose, baby. Let's go. I need to buy some last-minute Christmas presents, and I just bought friggin' 2-1 championship pay-per-views for $100. We got to make that money back.
Let's go, my guy. There he is, the City Life Project. He should come in there giving us the time and the effort to prep for tonight's card, you guys. Big show tonight, big card tonight. I'll give you just one last rundown that we're going through here. Then we got to get up out of here. We got the 7:30 live stream coming here. The football spot, the Rams +2 and the under 52 teaser. We moved into college football. I've got the South Florida +3.5 spot. The College basketball, we got the over 130.5 at Oregon State. Washington minus 14.5. The NBA, we took the Pelicanos minus 3. I know there's no Zion, but that's okay. The Clippers over 236. Kobe White and the 20-plus points of Wembyana over 2.5 blocks. And then last but not least, I added the under 239 for the Bucks. In the NHL, I went Capitals. I've got Toronto in regulation. I don't like to see they're already down 1-0. Shout out to our guy, Real Deal Prime, the grinder. I took the Calgary under 6.5 and Calgary Flames parlayed at plus 185 and the San Jose Sharks at plus 132. You guys, long show, big card, lots of cash to get. Make sure you get yourself some cocktail. Get ready to go. 7:30. We're going to pop back on here in just 15 minutes and rock and roll for a live bet stream tonight. Can't wait to see everybody then. We be out of here. We be bubbing. See ya.